everyone, I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Vince.
Vince?
Yes.
I hate to break this to you. I hate to even, bring this up. But, Zack Snyder is directing Superman.
I've heard this.
Oh, you have? Okay, good.
I do not approve.
Good, okay, so, I'm not gonna get, beat up by, you're not gonna, punch the messenger or anything.
No.
So, as you may or may not know, if you're one of our regular viewers, Vince and I are somewhat on opposite ends of the spectrum when it comes to Zack Snyder, and yeah, just build a wall right here between us. I have liked some of Snyder's work, and Vince kind of doesn't like Snyder at all, as far as I know, right?
I'm not fond of the gentleman, no.
And Vince and I are somewhat notorious amongst our viewers for being on polar opposite sides on Watchmen. And we've reviewed Watchmen, we've talked about it on other things before, and we always talk about coming to fisticuffs because we're so on opposite ends on this.
Brass knuckles. The chains and stuff.
Vince was not happy with it at all, although he only had two really minor quibbles with it, and then that was enough to just completely destroy it for him. And but you'll have to take my word for it. And I think it's one of the best superhero films ever made. So we're totally. Anyway, so how does that affect you for Superman?
Well, you see, I look back at some of his other movies. Yeah, Watchmen I didn't like. 300 I thought was shallow, but that's not necessarily his fault. And but the big thing I look back on is his remake of Dawn of the Dead. Now, I don't know whether or not he actually put handy keyboard or pen to paper or whatever, but Zack Snyder, I believe, or I'm entirely certain, was involved in the writing process for Dawn of the Dead. And because I listened to the commentary and they talked about coming up with ideas for this movie. And what really bothers me is that every character in this movie is two-dimensional. The plot is insane. The characters are so annoying, and the plot is so ridiculous that the movie is absurd. And I'm a little afraid that they're going to give Zack Snyder some leeway in what happens in the Superman movie.
They're going to let Zack Ryder snide the thing, and it's just going to be terrible.
He was sniding all night long. Anyway, that sounds horrible.
So so you think the Superman's gonna be just like that movie? Or the Superman's just gonna be trapped in a mall the whole movie? And...
I have powers. Why can't I get out?
No, man. This mall is made of kryptonite.
There's kryptonite zombies walking around, flying around, so he can't go anywhere.
I'm really mixed on this. I don't know how I feel about it. I can think of worse directors, for Superman, and I think
why not?
And I think that Zack Snyder. Appreciates and has an affinity for comic books. That's something that I appreciate about him. And admittedly, I've only seen his comic book movies, and have liked both of them okay. 300 was my favorite thing ever, but it was fun to look at. And
and that was my problem with it. Is that's all it was.
You're fond of saying that both 300 and Watchmen are really pretty looking movies, but they don't have anything else going for them.
Yeah.
I disagree with Watchmen, of course, but I understand where you're coming from with 300.
With Watchmen, the best things that come through Watchmen are, one, it looks, except for some of the major things, looks exactly like the comic book you would expect to look in real life. It is very, very close. And the other thing is mostly the
That's enough of a reason to like it.
See, so I do believe that Zack Snyder cares about what we see.
Yeah.
But that's all I believe that he cares about, is what we see. Which, maybe that's enough
for a director?
For him to direct Superman, because most of what we've seen for Superman has been very low-key.
You're saying as long as he doesn't write it, maybe it'll be okay?
Yeah, if somebody writes it, or, even, maybe we need just a special effects bonanza for Superman. I don't know. But if Zack Snyder does it, it'll definitely have some of that.
Yeah, no way around it. And that's fun. I'm all for a big spectacle Superman movie. I think Superman Returns tried to be that, but it was just kind of dull in a lot of places, and I didn't care for the story at all. But the thing about having Zack Snyder directed that I'm not sure about is just that immediately in my mind I go, oh, comic books, of course, Zack Snyder, and then I go, well, now wait a minute. so far, he's only done graphic novels. He's only done a story that was on page, and then he took that story and put it on screen. This will be an original Superman story. He's not gonna be adapting a Superman, graphic novel or a, Superman story arc from the comics. It's gonna be, some kind of an original story, and I'm sure they'll borrow from things here and there, but I mean, it'll be original. And so I don't know how he'll do with that. I guess it just depends. And so it seems to me like if Nolan has some of his regular story writing team, it's probably going to be in pretty good hands. If they let Zack Snyder do too much of the writing, then that could be a problem, or it may not be. I don't know. I don't know.
I fully believe that it would be a problem, but that's just me.
I haven't seen everything you've seen either.
I haven't seen Dawn of the Dead, and my problems with the ending of Watchmen.
Which was rewritten.
Yeah.
Sure.
So, granted, I
don't
know. And
that's one of those
much
things we're
Watchmen
totally polarized on, because I thought it was brilliant. But
so, yeah. We're almost going to review Watchmen.
No, not at all. No. The reason I bring it up is because I think it's going to be. It potentially has. It has the potential to be a taste issue. To be just, you know what I mean? Do you like that style? Do you like that writing? I think that they're going to do Zod, and that's another thing I'm not sure about, because I mean, you know that Zod's my favorite Superman villain next to Lex. And so I love Zod, and it's fun to see him on screen again, maybe. But the problem is that why don't we give some other good Superman villains their due time up on screen? And there's a lot of Superman fans that really have been wanting to see Brainiac. I mean, big screen Brainiac would be great.
I'd love to see Brainiac. I'd also like to see Metallo.
I think Metallo would be really good too.
Metallo would be fun.
I'm okay not seeing a giant CGI, Darkseid anytime in the future, especially if it looks anything like it does in Smallville. But I'm just saying that like we've seen Zod before, and they've done Zod recently in Smallville, and Zod was really huge in the comics recently, and I just feel like maybe they've only picked him because they think he'll sell tickets. I don't know. Like, maybe they have a good story in mind for him, but maybe it's just a commercial thing. I don't know.
I partly feel like they're choosing Zod so that they can have a character who is on the opposite side, white hat, black hat here.
Right.
So we can have a black hat who is so powerful that he matches Superman. So they really don't have to worry about whether or not... they don't have to get creative enough. They can make it a fight. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah, but I don't want all the story writing to just be about making sure there's a good fight on screen. I mean, yes, we want that for a Superman movie, but only because we haven't gotten it yet.
What's interesting here, I think...
Except for Superman 2, but...
If anybody's going to bring it to us, it's definitely going to be Zack Snyder or the guy that did Transformers. What's that guy's name?
Oh, wow, Michael Bay.
Yeah, Michael Bay. See, I'm not saying he'd make a good Superman movie. I'm saying if we're going to have somebody who's going to bring
I know you're bigger than me, but if you said that, I would punch you in the face.
I'm not saying that he would make a good Superman movie. I'm saying it's pretty much you have these people who are famous for doing big special effects bonanzas.
Right.
And if you really want somebody who's going to showcase what a fight would actually be like between the person with Superman and Zod's powers, it's gonna be Zack Snyder or somebody like Michael Bay or Hudaha.
Having Snyder do it, I think it has the potential to do something I've always wanted to see with Superman, and that is a dark Superman movie where Superman is not the thing that makes it dark. And we talked about this when we talked about Nolan having the reins of this movie, when we did our GNN on that, about the idea that you could have a dark Superman movie as long as Superman is not the thing that makes it dark. Because there are people who I think even now are worried about that, who were worried about it with Nolan, maybe even more worried about it now that Snyder's got it, because his two comic book movies have been darker type comic book movies. Is he going to make a dark Superman? That's okay with me as long as Superman is still the wholesome American value type character.
I'll say this because I think it's interesting. You have Superman, who is this shining light, and then you have whatever darkness people think is going to be in this movie.
Like Zod.
Wouldn't it be an interesting character arc to see a person like Superman be tested to his limit of trying to stay the ultimate Boy Scout?
Absolutely, and that's why I think it could be brilliant if that was the direction it were to go.
So we don't have to see Superman go, oh, I'm killing bunnies and things. But I'm sorry, I thought that was really funny.
Right. The movie in which Superman kills bunnies.
Like Clint Eastwood. Yeah.
The other thing I've heard, and this could be just rumor, is that it's gonna be Superman flying around, or Clark Kent, going around the world trying to decide if he's gonna be Superman, which I kind of was a head scratcher for me. Boy, I hope he doesn't spend the majority of the movie not in costume. Like, I don't know. Like, I feel like we've already had 9 and almost 10 years of that in Smallville. Like, I don't know if we need a movie like that. Also, it seems to me like that sounds like Origin to me. But again, I'm fuzzy on the details, and there aren't any details yet. So who knows? But
something bothers me about movies that have their main superhero character trying to figure out whether or not they're actually going to be what they are anymore. I don't know if I want to be Superman. I don't know if I want to be Aquaman and talk to the fishes.
Well, see, that's the thing is that I didn't know how to read that. I didn't know if it was he's not Superman yet and he's trying to decide if he's going to be, or he was Superman and he's trying to decide if he wants to be Superman again. I'm not sure which it is. So, I don't know. We probably shouldn't speculate about things that just happen and we don't know anything about. But
yeah. All I'm saying is I'm tired of both of those.
Sure, absolutely.
Because we all know who Superman is. Do we really have to see an origin again? And secondly, why would Superman choose not to be Superman anymore? I mean, you'd have to give us a good reason.
Plus, that's kind of sort of what Superman Returns was about. I mean, he was always Superman, but it was like, he abandoned the Earth, and then he came back, and people were trying to decide if he was even relevant anymore, which was a good idea on paper. It just didn't really... the idea of whether or not Superman is relevant anymore, I think is a good idea on paper. But... Of course, that could even be a good topic for another video. Is Superman still relevant?
Yeah. Somebody write it down. Write it down. Wait, we have it on video. Never mind.
Anyway, so but as much as you don't care for Snyder, you don't seem to be panicking about this.
You see, first of all, Superman's not really, really important to me, and
it's not going to kill you if they botch it.
Yeah. Well, here's the deal. Right. When I look at Zack Snyder, I look at a guy who wants to show us exactly what's on page, and I believe he's good at that. That being said, he's deviated in some ways. Like, for example, one of my big complaints about Watchmen was that we knew automatically who the villain was going to be. And with the Watchmen graphic novel...
I still say that wasn't his fault, but
yeah,
sure.
Well, it may have not been his fault. Okay. Sure. Whatever. There's a whole lot of politics that go into making a movie. I understand. But
there's a whole lot of politics that go into making a video on Geekvolution, too. I'm just kidding.
We have a Democratic vote.
That's right. We do.
And we elected Cisco from Star Trek. Anyway, so...
We elected Cisco?
Yeah, really? Avery Brooks.
That's pretty cool.
So, and here he is. Welcome, Cisco.
We elected him because he's the one with the phaser rifle. Anyway, what was the point you were making?
But if you look at how black and white he can make Watchmen, or the studio can make Watchmen.
Sure.
Then the idea of a Superman movie, which is going to be black and white, we know who the bad guy is.
I think it'll be in color, probably full color.
I mean, we have white hats and black hats.
Right.
We know who's riding the white stallion and who's riding the black stallion. Mm-hmm. And it's going...
Especially if you've got Superman and Zod.
Yeah. I mean, that's the point, is that we don't have any room for subtleties here in the way of characterization. Well, maybe. But that's my point here, is that I'm not so worried about him telegraphing a villain or treating the audience like they're stupid. Which I kind of felt like I was being treated like I was stupid watching Watchmen. Of course he's the villain. Why are you guys making it a secret?
Well, what do you think? Is it a good idea for Zack Snyder to direct Superman, or is there someone else you would have preferred? Put that in the comments below. Let us know. Also, if there's something you'd like us to talk about in a future video, leave that in the comments as well. And if you're ever in the Kansas City area, check out Pop Culture Comix on 87th Street. It's where I get my comics. And tell them that Geekvolution sent you, and you'll get 10% off your comics and your trades. I'm Captain Logan.
I'm Vince, reminding you to support your local comic book store.
See you next time.